Welcome back from that feature where we just examined fashion here in Nigeria. Moving on, it's time for us to have our first guest on the show this morning. And of course, we are focusing on traditional institution and leadership, especially with the 20th anniversary celebration of uh, our own traditional ruler, that is the Etsu Karu. I'm talking about pharmacist Luka Panya Baba, who last 2 weeks celebrated 20th anniversary on the throne of his forefathers. Yes, talking about leadership there for the past 20 years. That's what we are looking at this morning. And our guest that's going to take us through the last 20 years of a remarkable leader is none other but Elder Lazarus in Yaholo, the Magayaki of Gariki. You're welcome on the show this morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes. And now we are talking about a wonderful one, a great leader, somebody who has stood as a custodian of both customs and traditions, as well as a preserver of the values, the core values of the Karu chiefdom. Yes, we're talking about pharmacist Luka Panyababa. Let's begin by examining, or let us begin by saying congratulations first. It is no mean feat to be able to stay 20 years on the throne so far. So
Thank you very much.
congratulations to the people of Karu. Congratulations to you, sir.
Thank
And of
you.
course, congratulations to Nigeria. But now, as this celebration is going, it's, some people say it's over, but we say no. Celebrations such as this last more than a month, more than a year, if you even permit me. So let us see some of the significant milestones. What, in your opinion, stands our issue out as far as leadership is concerned?
Thank you very much. Well, like you have heard from his name, he's a pharmacist by profession.
Yes.
And that to tell you that he's a man that is well schooled and somebody who has a knowledge about human anatomy and what can keep the body alive.
Mm.
Now, with this, his knowledge, he has been able to bring it to bear on his leadership as a traditional ruler.
Okay.
It's not again saying that Pharmacist Luca inherited this throne from his forefathers, uh, who also reigned in Cairo for a very long time. And you can see that he has spent so far 20 years on the throne.
True. Yes.
And that is to tell you that has been able to pilot the affairs of the tradition of Karu and the local government, the states, and the nation at large.
Amazing.
And that calls for this celebration.
Now let's look at what would you say are some of his key achievements in the last 2 decades? What would
For-
you say
First of
stand
all,
out?
in any community or even in a nation, the basic ingredients of a leadership is peace.
Hmm.
Now, from the past 20 years, I can boldly say that we have not had any uh, uprising, whether communal, religious, traditional, or in Karachi.
Wow.
And that is attributed his able leadership. As you know, Karo local government as a whole, and Karo town in particular, is the next community to the Federal Capital Territory. And there is nowhere that is more populated around the Federal Capital Territory like Karo. When you think of Maraba, down to Masaka, and so on. And these are people that have come from all walk of life, and they are residing within the chiefdom. And we have not had cause to, aside from the general national security challenges we are facing, in the whole country. So that alone is a great achievement
Yes.
because there cannot be development anywhere where there is no peace.
Okay.
Aside from that, based on his upbringing and where he's coming from, there are people that are so passionate about education.
Mm.
We look at the setup of the Baba family, you know that they are all well schooled, and he take that to bear, and the younger ones coming on to ensure that every child within the kingdom goes to school, and he collaborate it with the relevant authorities in charge of providing education. And the only thing is that the challenges that you have with the traditional institution where they don't have a specified constitutional role that can enable them do some or go out to do some other things.
We come to that
Yes.
very shortly, but let's still stay within the part of culture and
Yeah.
traditions now. Let's talk about the preservation of the cultural heritage of the Karu people. As we know, the culture of the people of Karu is very rich, from their food to their dances to their music to even the masquerades and festivals that the people of Karu chiefdom have. So now, how would you describe the role of the Etsu in the last 20 years as far as preserving this culture and promoting it as a way of export to the larger society?
Very fine. Like the last celebration we had, this is part of them to kind of preserve the culture. During the celebration, you could see a number of different type of music we have in Bagilan, different type of songs we have in Bagilan, even as well as some stories in Bagi land. And this is again, and in Karo, we have this annual cultural festival and some sites that has to do with preservation. Make sure that they are not destroyed. And one other way of preserving the culture, you see, the language is very important in preservation of language. Now in Karo, uh, the children today, they hardly speak the language. But even in our religious settings, either Christian, you're either using Hausa or English in the churches, or Muslim, you're using Arabic in churches. You don't even know how you can pray in your own language. But I want to tell you that during his 20 years, like Ekwa Church in Karo, within the Gbagi nations, I can say, are able to create a Gbagi church that when you go to the church, you speak only Gbagi, you preach in Gbagi, you sing in Gbagi, you pray in Gbagi.
Oh,
So, and the first church of this Gbagi speaking this thing is from Karo. So you can see how he's trying to, and coming from the background of a priest, his father was a pastor, and you have to translate this to the younger so that you will not forget your language and you are able to speak the language.
amazing. We've been having this wonderful conversation with Elder Lazarus, and yes, he has been telling us about the man, pharmacy Luca Baba Panya. Yes, the Isukaru, who celebrated 20 years on the throne of his forefathers 2 weeks ago. That celebration mood is what we are still on, while at the same time looking at Nigeria's traditional institutions and the leadership that it provides. We will quickly see this report as put together about the celebration. And when we come back from that, our conversation with Elder Lazarus continues. Please enjoy this.
The journey of 1,000 miles, they say, begins with a step. This step, taken by the Etsu of Karu, His Royal Highness Lukapanya Baba, as custodian of his people's culture 2 decades ago, has been impactful, hence the need to celebrate his remarkable achievements. Dignitaries from within and outside Nasarawa state thronged to the Etsu palace to felicitate with the monarch whom they eulogized, describing him as a selfless father who derives pleasure in fostering peaceful coexistence in his multicultural domain.
We also recognize that this is not just a celebration of his 20th anniversary, but a celebration of a legacy of compassion, hard work, enthusiasm, and commitment.
We are proud of him, and some of us that are coming behind will have a lot to emulate from him.
I pray the God Almighty will grant him more wisdom, more life, and then prosperity.
He's accommodative to all. He has provided leadership of a fatherly role as it concerns being a traditional ruler.
He is so dependable.
Wish you well.
You can never run to him and you
continue to
are
pray for
not blessed in a way.
He's a man of humility, a very industrial man, a man that loves people.
The celebrant attributed the success of his 2 decades on the throne to God Almighty and cooperation from his subjects, while reiterating his unwavering commitment towards promoting unity and amity.
Our efforts at conflict resolution have transformed Karu into a model of peace, setting an example for others to follow.
Traditional titles were conferred on notable Nigerians for their contributions to the development of the country, including the Speaker, House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin as Spartan Karu, meaning the Shield of Karu. Dancers by different groups validate the maxim that the strength of Nigeria is in its diversity.
Welcome back, Elder Lazarus. What you've been telling us has been remarkable, especially when you talked about the church, the Ekwa Church, now doing service in Bagi, singing praises in Bagi, and of course offering prayers in Bagi. That's remarkable. That's a good way to preserve some of the customs, culture, and traditions of the people, especially through the preservation of the language. But let's look at the younger generation now. It will look like there's a migration from what is known, as you pointed out earlier, uh, to what they perceive is what the world needs now. Like, for example, from dressing to behavior to attitude, is like we have become more westernized. How has the ASU been able to nip some of this westernization, impact of westernization amongst the youths?
Let me say that this trend is not only applicable to Karo, but rather the Bagi nation as a whole. Okay. As you know, the Bagi people cut across 5 states and the FCT. Now, he has, like 2 weeks ago, just before the celebration of the union, he was at the Bagi language orthography unveiling.
Okay.
We have been able to liaise with the Education Resource Center in Shada to be able to have a column that Bagi language will be taught in primary and junior secondary school. And that approval by the Ministry of Education has been granted. We are working on the curriculum and training the trainers. Now, the orthography has been approved and it was unveiled. Etsu pharmacist Luca was one of the dignitaries at me because it is a collaboration of all Bagi traditional rulers, and he was there collaborating with other traditional rulers from other places to make sure that that is achieved. So you can see his input and whatever that is doing it because he wants this language to be taught within his kingdom. And that's why he has to participate fully in that. Now, when you talk of dressing, I don't know, if you are watching the Bagi people of recent, you discover that we have been able to revive our attire. And at the ceremony, you could see that the majority of the Bagi people there were wearing the Bagi dress. And the curve, the different style, even where you have to uh, sew your dress in a Western world, but the materials are those that are the baggy item material that we are using today. And not, you see, time changes, whether we like it or not. Now, before we have drums, uh, flutes that some other local guitars, but our youth today have been able to translate those local instruments to use the modern instrument because the times is changing. What is being used in making drums, flutes, guitar, and this thing may not be available today due to the topographic nature. Now, what do we do? Now we apply the use of the modern instrument, but to the cultures of the now. And that is why that our the baggy music today. And in fact, I can tell you without missing words that baggy music is taking over Nigerian music today. Because any celebration you go, whether those people are baggy or not, you hear them playing baggy music. And because we have translated our culture to the modern to fit in to the time.
Wonderful. That's interesting to know. Okay, but let's look at now collaborations across the different levels of leadership. We're talking about traditional institutions and the leadership that provide, as well as, of course, leadership as provided by government. In this case, let's examine from the local government to the state government. How would you say the Etsu is how is he doing it? How is it able to put his own traditional chiefdom in the map of the leadership map of the state, especially as regards providing and preserving the core values of traditional institutions, while at the same time drawing developmental projects to his chiefdom?
Well, preservation, especially some sites of cultural sites, have been a challenge owing to the fact of the development coming. Etsu Karu is the president of Karu Local Government Traditional Council. And you can see that since they have been, the president is able to bring other traditional rulers, whether at the grassroots together, you know, and the role of traditional ruler is government is purely advisory. And the challenge I'm talking about is that some things that traditionally would have preserved them, but when development catches up with such sites, they are not too considered. And at the end of the day, we tend to lose them. However, Esukaru tried his best to make sure that he advised in some of these things to see how they are preserved and not to permanently lose them. We bring them through some forums, through some festivals, and through other means that are possible to make sure that they are preserved. But to God be the glory, the local government and even the state government, uh, those are the leadership, are traditionalists as well. So they understand some of them, and collaborating with the ESU has not been that much a challenge.
Amazing, amazing. Well, this is really interesting to know, especially as we are discussing 20 years anniversary of leadership of the Isukaru, that is pharmacy, Luka Panya Baba, who is who has spent 20 years so far on the throne. It's a big congratulations to the people of Karu. It's a big congratulations to the Bagi Kingdom. It's a big congratulations to Nigeria as a whole. We want to, on behalf of all the studio members, wish you and the people of Karu Kingdom and as well the entire Bagi Nation many more years of remarkable leadership from Pharmacy Luka Bawapanya. Thank you for coming on the show, Elder Lazarus. Nyaholo, who is the Magayaki of Gariki and an elder statesman, a wonderful man, and of course, a custodian of custom. We'll quickly take a short break now, and when we come back, the program Good Morning Abuja continues. Stay with us.